Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to the 23rd episode of Ara the Autistic Alien. I'm super happy that you're here with me today again. And today I want to cover again, I guess, some topics that I already covered, but I want to have like a little bit of a new perspective on them. And so, I want to talk about embodiment and the meaning of life today. I guess the meaning of our own life is something that resonates as a topic with a lot of people, especially in our individualistic society. There are so many ways to live your full potential, as they say, and all of these things that I think whoever went down the path of looking externally for the meaning of life hasn't really found a solid answer that was valid over decades. Because, in my experience and in my opinion, the meaning of life is not something we actually get just by living, it's something that we create ourselves. And with that creative part comes a certain kind of responsibility to create a meaningful life for myself. I need to know who I am, and I need to know what my needs are, and I need to find ways to show up for my needs in ways that will create a future where they are actually being fulfilled. So the meaning of life is very closely tied to our capacity of being vulnerable. So, but first of all, I want to, the reason why I thought I want to have, this conversation is because, the past week, I was really, really depressed. And I just felt like I have to do something. Yeah, there are so many things, I'm still looking for a home. So there are so many things that are out of my control at the moment. And that is a good training in understanding that actually nothing is ever under control. It can just appear as if it is. But then also, it's good if we feel inside of ourselves that we lose our ground, that we lose our sense of power over our own life. Because there are maybe too many things in this certain situation that are controlled by the outside and that we don't have any power over. So that the danger in that is that it can make us feel powerless. And I know enough from my own training that in this moment it's very important to create something or do something where you can feel in control. This is only just one example. If you have a certain problems with fear or a fear disorder, it can be good to expose yourself to situations where you feel brave. Because you will have situations in your life where you feel brave that aren't as triggering. And so this is a kind of medicine I like to work with a lot. And so what I did is I told a friend that lives with me that I want to, she goes to the gym since a month or something. And this was actually never something I wanted to do. At first I thought that I want to go swimming because I did swimming as a sport back in school. But the indoor swimming pools are all closed during summer at the moment because they are under revision when the lake baths are open in Switzerland. And the weather was really shitty, so I couldn't go swim in the lake. Plus, when I do sports, I prefer to do it in an indoor pool because I just want to add on my kilometers. I don't want to be in a lake and don't really know how far I come now, and there is the tide and everything, so it's a different kind of swimming. It's more for recreational purposes for me. Anyways, so I couldn't go swimming, and I thought, okay, when I can't do that and I really need to first of all, I need to feel in control. I need to feel powerful. And second of all, this focus on this very crazy fearful thing of losing your home and losing the space you work in and just losing everything that you maybe have built. Although you can build it up again, but for the moment, if I don't find a home, that's where I'm at. And so it was very important to also create a space for myself outside of my home that would stay the same if I would lose my home. Yeah. So indoor swimming pool is a good idea for that, or also, as mentioned, the gym. Anyways, so I remember that in I don't know which podcast episode, but some episodes ago I talked about the gym being a good thing because we feel like part of a community as well. And because I'm kind of being rejected from a community at the moment, in my private life, in my living situation, it was also very important to feel included somewhere, or if I'm welcome there. Yeah, because I'm not really welcome where I am right now, not from all parts that live in this place. So I went to the gym with her, and I actually thought it was Sunday morning. And if you would have told me half a year ago that I would free willingly get up on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock to go to the gym, I would call you nuts, because I couldn't have imagined me doing that. But that's the beauty of how much we can change, no? Anyways, so I really had an internal fight. I was so tired and I didn't want to get up, and I didn't sleep well. So I was really I had to fight so hard with my inner demons to not just tell my friend, well, I won't come with you. But I was stronger and I went. And I was so surprised that I actually like going to the gym. It's I don't know, first of all, I never really knew what a gym was all about. I knew that there were these machines where you can run and drive a bicycle, and I knew that there were this, lifting the weights. But I didn't know about all these machines, yeah? And I really like the machines. And I also like that there is this kind of pattern that you repeat, yeah? I love patterns, we talked about this before. So now I have this pattern, okay, I do 12 crunches, and then I have a break, and then I do 12 again, and then I have a set of 3 with every machine. And yeah, the crazy thing is that now I even this week, I arranged my schedule around going to the gym. So except for yesterday, I was at the gym every day. On Tuesday, I was there twice. And it's I don't know, it's so weird. I have to laugh at myself, because that's not how I imagine future me to be. But then it's also a super, super beautiful proof of how much we can actually change when we heal. Through the talks I had with my therapist during this diagnosis process, which is still going on, I found so much clarity also that a lot of the issues I have started to be really strong during my teenage years, when my grandpa died when I was 11, and then when my parents got divorced, or they got separated first when I was 15 and they got divorced when I was 19 or something like that. So that's where certain things really started to go wrong. And that's where I also started to smoke weed excessively and everything. So and before that, I did a lot of sport. I wasn't as sporty as the rest of my family, but I really loved swimming. And I'm not competitive, but I really loved swimming, just because you're in the water and you feel I don't know, weightless or something. But anyways, I realized that somehow this workout brings me back to a part of myself that I left somewhere along the road, because it wasn't safe. Like, like this brought so much reflection up inside of me about how unsafe I felt in my body, and of how, like, I didn't learn a good way in certain situations to regulate myself, or to like be able to deal with my emotions. Like, for course we can say that I learned how to deal with my emotions by myself, but I don't really know how to, like, I'm learning now, but I didn't really know how to regulate my emotions when in company. I didn't know how to take care of myself before I take care of others, and other like things that were just like mirrored in my behavior around others. And I realize now that the more I worked on all of that, and maybe I still haven't created like the reality where I'm in connection with other people and where I feel like really home and safe and understood and everything. But like that I can go to the gym and do like physical activity that's actually draining and loving it because it makes me feel my body, it makes me feel my muscles, is like such a huge difference to what I was before. And that's where I connected this whole gym story to the meaning of life. Because I like at the moment I have this idea that the meaning of life, looked at from the perspective of a soul that has a human experience, is very much like playing a game, like an online game. And it's not an epiphany that I didn't have before, but I didn't see it in such a simple way before. So maybe you have thought of that before also, that, your physical body is kind of like an avatar. And you as a soul beam yourself into this avatar to play the game of being physically incarnated in a world. Yeah? And like what I now realized is like, like I become more and more like this very sensual being that doesn't have to rationalize every experience anymore. And I don't even have to emotionalize every experience anymore. I just sense it with my physical body. And I work with my physical body. And that was something I couldn't do before because I didn't feel my physical body. I literally didn't feel it. And oftentimes I said also to my therapist that my tattoos for me were never like an escape mechanism, but they were more like to get me into my body, to actually feel where my borders are. Yeah, that's why I got tattooed so excessively. It was not because I liked the pain. I was just like, okay, the pain of getting tattoos compared to the pain that I have inside is like nothing. So, and it just made me feel where my borders are. So that's really interesting on that side as well. So, like, we all know already that traumatization can cause dissociation, so that we kind of leave our bodies, or we don't really actually incarnate fully into our bodies. Like, there are kind of like certain aspects that we leave on the outside, that we don't fully embody because it wasn't safe at some point. And healing has a lot to do with actually arriving fully in that body. And I'm not sure if we can actually manage that, especially when we have like this evolutionary traumas, where it's more about, did you learn a healthy way of dealing with your own energy, no matter if this energy is comfortable or uncomfortable? Like, for example, like, to this day, there are certain people who will tell you that when your baby cries, you should let it cry because it can regulate itself. And if you do that, I really, really urge you to stop immediately, because it's the worst thing you can do to a human being. A baby cannot regulate itself. The biggest lie on this planet is that you are able to do everything on your own. You are not a being that is supposed to be living alone. You are not a being that is supposed to be doing everything on its own. That's like the biggest lie of this individualistic society, and it causes so much pain. And now, like, when we project that onto a baby that's newborn, and we just say, oh yeah, it can regulate itself because we cannot live with a crying baby, then maybe we shouldn't make a baby in the first place. Yeah, because like being parents is a lot about being selfless. It's not about being more of oneself. Yeah, it's about bringing another being into this world and actually interacting with this being in the way that will make its evolution go smoothly. And if you let your baby cry, it will learn that there is not enough love for it. There is not enough attention for it. There is not enough space for it. So that's what I learned. And then, like, that's like understimulation. Yeah, when we just let our babies cry and we don't take care of them when they need us most. And the other thing is overstimulation, that we actually play with a baby or we talk to a baby and we do not listen to the signs of its body that this baby actually now wants to rest. So we just like overstimulate the baby, and then it learns that attention is something bad. Yeah, is something uncomfortable. Yeah. So like a lot of like raising a child is actually connected on learning how to regulate yourself, and then learning how to see signs of activation, aka dysregulation of the nervous system in our children, so we can act according to their needs, because then they can learn how to act according to their own needs. And that's what we want to like arrive at, right? That we arrive at a society where we can actually like have space for each other and we are regulated. We are not constantly in fight or flight or in freeze mode, but we learn how to regulate ourselves. We don't need to like self-medicate with drugs or anything, because we built this society where we can actually feel safe in connection with others. Yeah? Because the meaning of life is not something that you find for yourself also. It's something that is related to the bigger picture. It's related to others. Yeah? We cannot fully experience embodiment or the meaning of life on our own. We can arrive at a point where we have such a close connection to ourselves that we can actually communicate our needs. But that will still create scenarios where maybe the other person doesn't want to meet our needs. And then that's okay. And then we have to accept like whether this person, like if that need of ours is so important that we have to find another person that we can fulfill it with, or that we can let go of that need because we want to be with the person that doesn't want to fulfill that need. Yeah? But yeah, like this stuff is super tricky, especially when we have been traumatized out of our bodies. And like what I see as like, you know, like now we'll say something very funny, but to me, like the biggest enemy of true spirituality is the projection that the current modern human has on spirituality. Because spirituality is not about becoming more mental or more of spirit. It's about taking more of that spirit into our bodies and actually embody it and live it out. It's not about leaving the physical body behind and be only soul. It's about how can I be more soul while I am incarnated in a physical body.
or that's what, like, spirituality for me was always that. I, like, for sure there was always like this depressive side or the depressed side of me that really wanted to leave the planet whenever things got really rough. But that was because, like, now I know that when you leave your baby crying, this feels like dying to your baby. Okay? It feels like dying. No matter what this weird book you maybe read about it says, it feels like dying to a baby if you let it cry, if you do not support it, if you don't nurture it when it needs you. And so, like, whenever I struggled in life, I wanted to die because that felt familiar. It didn't feel familiar that somebody will show up and help me. It didn't feel familiar that things will work out somehow. It didn't feel familiar that somebody will actually come into my room and put on the light and like be with me. I had to deal with it on my own since I was super tiny. And so, like, when I didn't find ways to solve my own problems, my go-to address was, I don't want to live anymore. And like, it wasn't as strong as in others, so I didn't like actually proceed to try to wanting to kill myself, but I just observed that that's where my mind goes. When I don't have a solution on my own, that's where my mind goes. I don't deserve to live. I will die now. I have to die. And I feel like a lot of traumatized people have that. And it can come from something as simple as we say, as letting your child cry when it actually needs you. When you think it can regulate itself, like they say that the baby manipulates you with crying. A baby does not have any intention. A baby only has instincts. So if a baby cries, it's not about manipulating you. It's because we are not supposed to live the way we live. We are not supposed to do the most things we do the way we do them, because we are tribe people, or like we are a race of, we need tribes. We need to belong to others. Yeah? So a baby, when it is born, it's super important that this baby feels super welcome exactly the way it is. And not only when it's happy and not crying and not getting on anybody's nerves. Yeah? Because a lot of millennials were actually like, like in the late 80s and early 90s, there was like this book that like promoted this method of like letting your baby cry during the night and it will regulate itself. So I believe that's why so many millennials have like these very strong minority complexes, and they are like really like not sure within themselves, and they don't feel safe within their bodies because it actually wasn't safe when they were born. Their parents believed in a book over their own instincts, and that's super typical for boomers. And I don't want to like that's not pointing fingers. It's just like that's the responsibilities that the different generations have to like take on. And we as millennials for sure will pass on like certain patterns to our kids because of how we were treated. And yet not everybody was let alone to cry, but that's just like it was done to like plenty of people. So if you like maybe resonate with not like having to solve everything by yourself and feeling too heavy or a burden to others when you have negative emotions that you cannot handle alone, that's a very strong sign that maybe this was your experience as a baby. Because like, as a baby, we cannot really think or anything, yeah? But like, imagine you are born and like in the first 9 months of your development, you are surrounded by, you're in a place that's super safe, yeah? Maybe it's not that safe because maybe your mom is worried or whatever, but still it's safe and you get nurtured and everything, and it's warm and it's comfy and you don't even feel your own borders because you're in that big belly, right? And then suddenly it gets like really tight and uncomfortable and you realize you have to leave that place, and then you get born. And you get born in a super bright environment, like super loud. Everything's too much for your senses. Somebody beats you, so you start to breathe. And then they cut the umbilical cord mostly immediately, especially like in the times where I was born with the millennials. Nowadays, they don't do that immediately, normally. So bam, here you are, you're on your own now. And then maybe you're in a hospital with other crying babies, like for some days, and then you're home, and then you're suddenly on your own, and you're in your own bed, in your own room, and you cry, nobody's coming. I mean, sorry, but that's like the worst welcome one can get into this planet ever. And I strongly believe that like a big part of me just decided, oh no, I will not go into this body. It's not safe. Look at that. They just leave it because a book said so. No, it's not safe. And I believe that that's why I have this strong connection to cosmic things. That's why I know about the Pleiades and where I'm coming from and where I'm going to and all of these things. And that's what was also the reason because why I found that to be more interesting than being human or being embodied. And now that I did the work of healing the trauma, just because I wanted to live a life that's actually enjoyable for me, and I realized that some of my evolutionary trauma actually stands in the way of fulfilling some of my dreams, like having a healthy, intimate relationship with another being. So I worked on that, and it was like a kind of weird but nice side effect to now realize that I arrived very much in my body through that, and that right now, like I still believe that, or I see that I have all this knowledge and I have all these memories of these different spaces that I lived in. So they are still real to me, but they kind of lost their importance. Because what I want to do now is be embodied. Like the meaning of my life is that I got a body and I have a world that actually I can explore with this body. And now it's so safe in this body that I don't want to just mentally explore it or emotionally explore it. I want to sense it. I want to feel my muscles when I was in the gym. Or I don't know, I want to hold hands with people, or I want to have deep, intimate talks that need a lot of vulnerability from me too. But these are the things I want to explore now. And I really feel like I've been given a world, and for sure, this world has a lot of issues and all of that, but still, it just has this very different kind of feeling to it. And yeah, I just believe that a lot of the people that want to escape this world so badly, actually, it's vice versa. They want to arrive so badly, but because there is not this perception of only a little part of you being really incarnated or embodied in yourself. That's not a perception we can take on, and that's why we feel like we want to leave. I had this for so many years, and then when I hit ground bottom, I was like, oh yeah, maybe it's not about going somewhere else to have something, but about bringing what I want to have here. And I think that was the start of this journey. And yeah, I never thought that it would end, or it's not at an end, right? I'm still living, but I didn't think that it would lead me here, And it's also kind of a paradox in itself, because I'm losing my home and everything, but then again I kind of find a home within my own body. So yeah, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents about that. And yeah, if you ask yourself now why so many of us, even if you haven't cried on your own all through your babyhood or whatever, the reason why maybe you're also not, or still not connected to your body, can also be school. Because in school, that's actually what they do. Yeah, they need you to follow rules that maybe don't actually feel good to your instincts. And how do we do that? We put them in a chair and they have to sit for 6 hours, because nobody at the age of 6 wants to sit for such a long time. So you kind of break the connection of the soul or the consciousness with the physical body, because the only way to like have your physical body do all of that stuff that they require of you in school, instead of just like teaching you while you stand or while you walk or while you move in general, is because when this connection is broken, you will not sense how bad the system is for you. And it's way easier to exploit people who are not connected to their bodies. It's way easier to take advantage of people who are not connected to their bodies. And now look out into the world and look at everybody is looking for something and nobody knows for what. And I strongly suggest right now that what they are looking for is themselves. And it's not the soul, but it's the body. It's about the connection of the soul to the body. And once this connection is established, that's when all the other connections can actually follow. They can be there beforehand, but before I am actually connected to my physical needs, desires, and able to talk about them, put them out into like a vulnerable state and actually being okay with being rejected for that without it feeding into any weird minority complex, that's when like I live a spiritual life. And not when I am able to channel I don't know which alien from I don't know which dimension. Like, maybe if that alien has something interesting to say on how to become more embodied as a human, that would be interesting. But I'm not sure if an alien can do that. So yeah, like as you can hear, I will definitely rename this podcast. Like I have no clue right now how I will call it. But I will definitely like rename it because I'm not autistic and now like I don't even feel like an alien anymore, which is kind of weird. I feel so human and so embodied, and it's really beautiful. And yeah, that's not like, I don't want to make this episode about like, oh yeah, everybody has to go to the gym now, but more about maybe you can reflect on where are you embodied, or where do you feel like your body is a safe place, around which people, or during which actions or exercises, you know? And if you don't have any of these, like, could you create some? And it doesn't have to be sports, you know? There are a lot of actions we can do with our bodies. So yeah, like I feel like I'm gonna close this episode now. I know it's a bit all over the place, but I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I wish you a lovely weekend ahead, and we speak soon. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And some of the ideas that I covered today, actually I have from a podcast that I listen to at the moment. It's in German, so there's no English version. But if you're German speaking and you're interested in like diving deeper into trauma, out of body, the meaning of life and all of this stuff, I'd be really happy to send you the podcast. So just hit me up via email or however suits you best, and I will send it to you. Okay, thank you very much. Speak soon. Bye bye.